So let's finish our series on database querying that we began in the past two videos with just some few more technical questions, and we'll call it quit. Okay, so we've covered quite a lot in this three-part series of querying your databases, and we are just going to touch one or two more advanced functions or intermediate functions that is available to you in querying your databases. Okay, so once again, let's begin. So we have a very technical question here. It says, what percent of retail sales were made on days when they sold above the normal daily average sales? Okay, so normal daily average sales. I'll need to find out what is the average sales for each day, what's the average sale made on each day, and so they're talking about retail sales. So there's a table for resellers, so I guess that's the one. So select everything from reseller, dim reseller, and no fact reseller sales. So there's something like fact reseller sales. Let's see our database. Fact reseller sales. Great. Okay. So we have information on the resellers, and okay, so it's very similar to what the table we had for internet sales. It's quite similar. Yes, okay, there's reseller key and there's employee key. Okay, I guess that's the difference. Okay, so what percent of retail sales were made on days? So we need weekdays when they sold above the normal daily average sales. So we need to know the average daily sales for each day. Okay, so I have this. Again, let's use the date name function to collect day of week from other dates. Okay, and let's call that day. And we want the sales amount because we want to compare what percent of retail sales were made on days when they sold above the normal daily average sales. So we want to compare sales made with the average daily sales. Okay, now I know I've not done a video, a full tutorial on partitioning and all that, but let me just use this to explain. All right, I need a categorical data. Not really, don't have any. Okay, but let's just go on. I want to say give me the average sales amount, okay, made over each day. Okay, made over each day. So I'm going to say partition by this. Will this work? Let's see. Okay, perfect. So this was the first row in our data. The day was a Monday. The sales amount was 2039, but the average sales amount for Mondays are 1394. That's what we've done. So look at the way I explained it. I was trying to perform the average sales amount. Just a moment, let me pull up my device. I was trying to calculate the average sales amount made over each day. Okay, so partition by, what did I do there? Partition by simply means perform this, right, for each group of this. Okay, so perform average of sales amount for each group of days. So it calculated the average sales of all the Mondays put together, and it's now giving me, so everywhere I have a Monday, you see this value beside it. If I filter for Tuesday, sorry, this takes a while to load. So if I say for, okay, let me sort by sales amount, okay, in descending order. So you can see that for Saturdays, these values remain the same, right? For Fridays, it's not. For Saturday, it's still the same value. Saturday is still the same value. So what it did was calculated the average sales amount for each day of the week. Now, what we will now subsequently do is count how many times was this value greater than this. Right? How many times was this value greater than this and not? Okay, so I am going to query this table I have here. Meanwhile, take note, if you want to do a subquery, you must make sure that every table in your previous table has a name. So I need to give this a name, and let's call it average weekday sales. So average daily sales. Okay. All right. So I now want to query this to group by days. So I want to group by group. I want to group by days. Okay. I want to group by day. My subquery. Okay, no, I don't need to do this. Since I've already given my subquery and this date name a name, that variable a name, which is day, so I just need to use day. So I want to group by day, and what I want to do is select day. Okay, select day from my subquery. So I've not given a name to the subquery, so let's call this let's say daily sales comparison. Okay, so I want day, and I also want to know how many times for each day, did they sell above or below the profit, above or below the average day sales. So first of all, we're going to have something like a case statement. We're going to say case when sales amount is greater than average daily sales, then record it as 1. Okay, just hold on with me. Else 0. Do I need to do else 0? No. Record it as 1. End. Okay. And because I'm grouping by, I want to count how many times did it actually perform this action. So let me explain what the tip or the trick here is that whenever it finds this to be true, okay, so let's say made above, okay, greater than. Whenever it finds this to be true, it's going to record 1. Okay? When it is not true, it's not going to do anything. It will probably give a null. Alright? Now we are trying to tell it to count how many ones does it have. Okay? Count how many ones does it have, which will give us a sense of how many times did the sales amount above the average daily sales. So let's call this above average. One word, please. If you must use double words, square parenthesis. Otherwise, also check when it is greater than when it is less than or equal to this, and call it below average. Okay, so if I execute this, I now have, okay, so these are the number of days when it was above average. These were the number of days when it was below average. So I now have this table, but okay, so I'm having a bit of an interruption. Okay, sorry. Okay. Oh, leave me alone. All right, sorry for that. But we want the percent of this, not just the general, not just this. We want to see what percentage was above average, what percentage was above average. That's the information we want. Now, I've showed us how to do subquerying. The way I want to show us how to do, because I can do this by subquerying, but I want to show us how to use what we call a CTE, a common table expression. Okay, because sometimes subquerying may begin to look a bit more complicated or difficult for some persons, but with the common table expression CTE, it is somewhat easier to some persons. So all I will say is with, and then I give it a name. Okay, I want to call it average average check, right? And I say as, open bracket before my query, and then close bracket. Now what I've done is I've saved the result here, which is this table, as a common table expression. So I can query it and say select everything from, and what do we call it, average check. Average check. Okay, so it now recognizes that there's something called average check. But what do we want to do? We want to say day, we want to see the days, and we want to see the percentage when it was actually above. So to do that, we are going to do above average, right, divided by the sum of above average plus below average. Of course, this will give us how much of this, of the total, and we want this as percentages. So I'm going to do times 100. Okay, now let me show us some. So let's call this percent above. Okay, now when using a CTE, the only limitation I find with it is that you cannot run this alone to give you an error. The only way to use the query that you generated from creating the CTE is by running it together with the CTE. Okay, so we have 29 and all the rest, which are whole numbers. So when you're performing some of these mathematical calculations, basic calculations like division, if they are both integers or maybe money value or whole numbers, most likely to attempt to give you, sometimes it will attempt to give you the result as whole numbers as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the cast statement. I'm going to cast above average. I'm going to cast above average as, I'm going to cast above average as float. What this means is that I want it to convert above average from a whole number to a decimal value. So use the cast command when you want to convert a particular value or variable to another type, another data type in your calculation or in your select statement. But you must make sure that what you are casting is convertible. Okay, you can't say you want to cast a categorical column and you want to cast it as a float. Okay, And sometimes your cast may give you an issue if you probably have nulls or certain things. So you may want to use the try cast. You may want to use the try cast, okay, which is more stiff to some of those things. So now we have in decimal places. I just want to use the cast. So to make sure that we have them in 2 decimal place, I'm going to use the round function to round everything to 2 decimal place. Okay, so I now have this in 2 decimal places. So what percent of retail sales were made on days they sold above, right? So from this data we can see that Sundays were the days, or Wednesdays were the days where they sold more above the average daily sales. Okay, I guess that was a bit tricky. So let's see resellers with the most average losses made on weekends. So it shouldn't be so much of a challenge. Okay, it's a straightforward question from what I see. In fact, reseller sales, we want to see the most average losses on weekends. On weekends, so they must be where weekends. So where date name of order date name rather of DW order date is in weekends are Fridays, Saturdays, and Sunday. Okay, so first of all, let's, initially we had about 60,000 rows of data. Okay, so we have just about 22,000, so we're making sense. And they want to see the average losses made on those. Want to see the resellers. So we want to see the resellers that had the most average losses. Okay, so we would have to inner join with dim reseller, so we can get the reseller's name. Okay, this is A, this is B, and we say on A dot reseller key equal to B dot reseller key. And so what we want now is reseller name, resellers with the most average losses. So how do we calculate loss? Let's see sales amount minus total product cost. Now I'm thinking we going to have negative values. Are we going to have negative values? Okay, yeah. See, this total product cost is greater than sales amount. All right, so we have sales amount minus total product cost, and we want to call this loss. Okay, so let me put that in a bracket, and we are looking for average of this. Remember, average losses. And because we are having a group by resellers with the most average, so you're considering different resellers, so you want to group by reseller. So what if there are resellers that have the same name? So I would prefer to group by reseller key and also add reseller name. Reseller name. Okay, and then since I have reseller key appearing multiple times, let's make sure it's just from 1. Alright, so at the end of this video, you should have had enough to add to your portfolio. And why I would really recommend what we're using here is because AdventureWorks is a very popular database that most data analysts use to skill up. Okay, so it's a very structured data, so it's one that drawing insights from and then taking them to a BI tool to visualize is going to boost your CV a lot, your portfolio a lot. Okay, now remember we said average losses, so okay, this should not be loss, this should be profit. It should be loss. Actually, in real sense, it's profit, but because of what we're about to do, let's call it loss. Okay, because we want to make sure that this guy we have here, meanwhile, if it were order by, it will work, so loss is not going to work. Okay, just wanted to confirm that. So having this less than 0, that's what a loss is, right? Having it less than 0. Okay, so we will now have to order by, loss, and you'd have to order in decreasing order this time around, right? Okay, so you now have a list. So there are 231 retailers that made losses, that made an average loss. Okay, and as usual, if you want to pick the top 10, you want to pick the top 20, you can just do that. So we have this. Okay, so these are the guys that made the most average losses on weekends. Okay, if you don't want to see for weekends alone, you can comment that out and you see that. Okay, what is the total amount sold? Okay, from the description of our table, right, and description of the questions that I had, we want to see total amount both from reseller and from internet sales. Okay, so select, remember internet sales from our last video, and if you're still with me, please do well to drop a like and subscribe to our channel, and select everything from facts, reseller sales. Okay, how many minutes do we have left? Oh wow. Okay, so this should give us information on the both tables. We want to see the total amount sold, so total sales amount. I want to see the total sales amount, and so what we're going to do when you have issues like this is you want information from both tables. You're not going to join, because in joining, what you want is bring this variable, keep them side by side. But what we want here is bring this variable, they are both similar, and put them in one variable. They are the same variable. So we are going to union. Okay, we are going to union. All right. And okay, look at this. The second part of the question said total number of items, each product key, each product subcategory and categories. So we need product key. So let me use that as an opportunity to create what we call a view. So a view is another form of table that you can store in your database, but it's not like your permanent table. It's not a physical table that we created. It's more of something like a pivot table of that sort, something that you have that you can play around with. Whenever you update your original table, it will be updated there because you may have to rerun the view. Okay, but it's not your original table. Alright, so we're going to create a table of our own. It's going to be a view, which is what we are going to use subsequently. So simply say union all, and we want product key, we want sales amount, because basically that's what we may be using for both of them, this total number of items, product key. Is there any other thing we need? I think that's all. So I want to take these two items from both tables. So the thing about union is that you have to make sure that the number of variables you specify for your first table must be the same number of variables you specify for your second table, and that the data type of both tables should be the same in the order in which you put them. So don't put sales amount and product key. It's going to join, but you would have an issue based on what you want to do. Okay, so in the order with which you put them, they should also have a similar data type, all right, a similar schema. Okay, so let's just see what happens here. All right, so you can see initially we had about 60,000 data for each of them. Now we have about 120 data. Okay, total number of items. Okay, so we're still good. Now what I'm going to do is I want to create a view from this. So I'm going to say create view, and let me call it total sales as. So I'm going to create view total sales as. Now here as the rest of this. So this is all flagging an error, and the reason is because the create view statement, as it says here, must be the only. So usually create view as well as your CTE. So if you're doing your CTE on a script where it's not the beginning command or the only command, you may have these red flags, but it's not going to stop it from working. It's going to work. So I've created this view now. You see command completed successfully. So if I open my views, and okay, so you can see total sales here now. Okay, are we good? So I'm just saying that don't cry out if you're seeing this, you don't have an issue. So what you do is you are going to comment it out, just so we don't have so much of that error staring at our face. But now we have that total sales with us. So if I say select, so select all from total okay, so it's not showing up yet. It's not showing up yet. Total sales. Ctrl Shift R to refresh IntelliSense. So it's working. Okay, it's picked up now. Okay, so we now have our total sales as a view, not a permanent table, not a CTE, not a subquery, but a view. So each time I open my database, I would have that view available. Okay, so let me also add this. If you've created a view or something having this name, okay, and you want to run that query again, maybe you're trying to make corrections, please make sure you add something like this. The drop if exists command. Okay, the drop if exists command. So we want to say drop view if exists, drop this view if it already exists, and then create. So if I run this, okay, Okay, maybe I got the order wrong. Let's see. Okay, yeah, drop view if exists. So if you attempt to run this again, it will tell you that there's already named this in the database. Okay, so just in case you made a mistake and you want to do that again, you would run it together with this command, and create view must be the very first statement in a query batch. So drop it first, okay, and then run this so it works. Okay, let's just comment those out. Okay, so it still works with table. If it were a table, you would do drop table if exists and then the table name. So now we were asked to find out the total amount sold. Let me add this so it will display distribution. The total amount sold, and we want to find sum of sales amount. And so we know that total amount sold is this total sales. Okay, final question is, what was the total number of items of each product, subcategory, and category sold? So it's very simple, something we've done in a different fashion before. So product key tells me about the product, and I'm counting everything, and I'm grouping by product key, which will give me a count of so let's call this count, which will give me a count of each, but what we want is the product name. So let's quickly inner join with our dim product table, call this B, call to sales A, and we are going to join on A dot product key equal to B dot product key. And so I want the product name, so product English product name, and I want to group by product key. I've explained to us before why I'm grouping by both product key and the English name, and we said it's because there may be different products that bear the same name, but they are distinct based on their product key. Okay, and because I also want my name to appear here, the product name to appear here. So what is the total number of items? That should be order quantity. That should be order quantity, which means I may need to edit this for order quantity. Okay, so we may need to recreate our view again. Ouch. We need to recreate our view again. So let's also add order quantity. So drop view if exists, and now we can create it back. Okay, and let's comment that out. Okay, so this would be sum of order. So it's not refreshed yet, right? So let me also show us that. So just in case you created something and it's not yet refreshed, you have to refresh local cache sometimes manually. Ctrl+Shift+R, right? Works in the same way in your SQL Server Management Studio. Ctrl+Shift+R, or you go to wherever it was created, in this case our view, and you can refresh and refresh this as well. So it should pick up after some time. Okay, so let's run this. So this is not, so let's say items sold, total items sold. Okay, so what was it? Total number of items that each, total number of items of each product. So we now have, okay guys, exactly. So see why I was doing the group by product key and English product name. Now these guys probably have different product keys. Let me just show us that. Probably have different product keys. What's going on? Product key. Okay. Ambiguous. So you see why. That's why I usually use the primary key and whatever variable we are also using that we want to group by. Okay, but then I would not usually add the primary key here if it's not necessary to be seen. But you can add it. You can add it, and the reason why you can add them sometimes is in your business intelligence tool. If you want to take it over there to perform visuals, sometimes you will need these primary keys and secondary keys to be able to join your data, validate your data, from different tables and all that. Okay, so this is the total number of items of each product, and let's just order by consolidate your data. I was trying to remember that word, consolidate your data. So I'm talking about when you have, we are trying to, what we are doing with the inner joining tables from, joining items from different tables, actually data consolidation. Okay, I want this descending order. Okay, gotta hurry this up. So water bottle, 30 pounds were the most sold items. Now they said we also want this for the different subcategories. So just like something similar we had in the other video, we've joined on product keys, right? So we can also inner join, because we saw that the product key is available in the is available in the category table, right? The subcategory table. So we are going to inner join with where do we have that? Dim product subcategory, and we're going to do this. So let's call this C. We're going to do this on D dot subcategory key. I can remember that because we did that in one of the previous videos, equal to C dot product subcategory key. Now, how I knew that, why am I using B dot product subcategory key and not A? Because product subcategory key is a secondary key in dim products and a primary key in dim product subcategory, and which is what we can be able to use to join B and C, that is dim product and dim product subcategory. There is nothing that links total sales and product subcategory, so you have to join this table to this table and then join this table to this table. Okay, so what we want this time around is we're not grouping by product key. Instead, we want to group by product subcategory key, right? So we want to group by product subcategory key, and we want the subcategory name, English product subcategory name. So this should be what is here now. So product subcategory as a name. All right. So these are the different categories of items, and what was sold the most were road bikes. What was sold the most were road bikes. Last question, or the last part of the question said category. So once again, we cannot link our other quantity to category because there was no direct connection. There is no secondary key in dim product that is a primary key in product category. So you have to join to dim product, to join total sales to dim product, and then join it to subcategory, and then join it to category itself. Okay, so we said category sold. Okay, so we are inner joining one more time. We want to inner join with product dim product category, call that D, and we want to join on C dot product category key. Okay, should be equal to D dot product category key, and we are grouping by C dot product category key. Okay, and we want the product English product name. I guess that's what it will be called. Okay, and that's what we want here, and call this product category. Everything looks okay. All right, so now we have for the different product categories which items were sold the most. Hold on. Oh, I didn't want to tamper with this. So let me just copy this. I shouldn't have. So just pardon me, guys. Let me remove what I've added here because I want to leave the script file with us. Okay, so this is still fine, and then this is the last one we just did. So English product name, so it should be product category name. Yes, so this should be English product category name. Okay. All right. So we have bikes that was sold the most, followed by clothing, accessories, and components. Okay. So this is going to be the end of this series of querying databases. We've moved from basic to intermediate and to advanced. We've learned how to use CTEs, how to use views, we've learned how to use date commands, we've learned so many things, so many tips and tricks you can use up your sleeves. And I'm going to be doing probably another more advanced, so yeah, I'm going to be doing a more advanced database querying video tutorial on maybe another database that you can also add to your portfolio. So watch out for my channel for the new contents that will coming in, and then subsequently we are now going to move into Python programming. All right, thank you so much for joining. If you've not liked, please like, subscribe, and turn on your notification bell for new contents. See you in the next video.